Is literally like at first we were thinking it was maybe the fuse box, but then it ended up not being, and the power was just out. Uh, so yeah, back we are. Hey, did you go offline again? Question mark. You just exited the stream. We're having technical difficulties. I don't really know what's happening. It could actually be the dude's Wi-Fi. Um, this hasn't really happened before. So we're gonna try one more time. Let me pop him a link again. Uh, yeah, okay, we're still good, I think. Dude,
Alright.
are you? Your message never sent on your phone.
What do you mean?
Like it still says you're typing. Are you still typing?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I left it. I was about to type something, I just left it.
Is your Wi-Fi good?
I don't know, man. It's Comcast. What do you think?
I
Also,
mean,
I think like sometimes we need to upgrade because everyone's using the Wi-Fi all at the same time. Because I think those TVs use Wi-Fi.
what are they doing on them? Are they like watching Netflix and all that?
Maybe. So like constant streaming. But I mean, I don't know. It should be fine because my brother's not even up.
I mean, yeah. All right.
But yeah,
Um,
I don't. I don't know. I don't know.
okay.
Might happen again, so be prepared.
We'll just try to keep going, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh. Okay. So it says, whenever you see someone grieving at the departure of their child or the loss of their property, take care not to be carried away by the impression that they are entire external straits, but at once have the following thought available. What is crushing these people is not the event, since there are other people it does not crush, but their opinion about it. Don't hesitate, however, to sympathize with them and even maybe share in their groans, but take care not to groan inwardly as well. So when I first came across this passage,
hmm
it was in a different translation that was supposedly more quote unquote scholarly for the time that I ran across it.
Yeah.
I want to like remind people this translation is fairly new
hmm
and it didn't exist when I was first introduced to Epictetus. And the way the translator wrote that one that I read originally made it sound like people were stupid for grieving and you shouldn't grieve with them.
Yeah.
But as we've both read more Epictetus, um, Epictetus is more concerned with what you're doing inwardly than what you're doing outwardly.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is show sympathy, but make sure you don't get carried away
Yeah.
to the point where their grief. I feel bad because I know a lot of people that identify as HSPs,
Yeah.
And they have a really hard time with this.
Mhm.
Because they think there's this assumption that you should feel what other people are feeling, and I think it's because, look, so if you guys believe in this shit, I'm a pretty empathic type of person,
Yeah.
but I've learned that involving yourself in the way that somebody else feels about a situation is not, I mean, it's empathy with no boundaries. And the only thing that I've seen it do for me is make me depressed.
Mhm.
Because when somebody's in the throes of grief to that extent,
Yeah.
there's literally nothing you can do. And feeling their pain, um, if you get mad at me, oh well. But feeling their pain is neither good for you nor them if it only makes you miserable.
Yeah.
That's the caveat.
Mhm.
If it enables you to help them in some way, because you're more accustomed to grief, you've had a lot of experience with death and people passing on,
Yeah.
you think that that enables you to help them, fine. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is feeling other people's pain for the sake of feeling other people's pain.
Yeah.
In my experience, that does nobody any good.
Mhm.
And I think that's what Epictetus is getting at. I don't think the Stoics would deny that empathy is a natural process.
Yeah.
I don't think they would deny that grieving is a natural process.
Yep.
But um, I've met people that have very histrionic personalities,
Mhm.
and in certain cases, outwardly showing grief with them just keeps them in that loop
Yeah.
for longer than they would otherwise be. And that's the other piece that we can't control, but like we can choose whether or not to feed it, but that's my own personal take on it.
Right.
Um, yeah. It's not a lot of people's. I've seen people get to this verse and just stop reading.
Mhm.
But um, yeah, there's like a whole after. Maybe after we go through the meditations, like I'm thinking we should just have like a conversation about everything we've read on stream. Because yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot about Stoicism that is very little understood.
Yeah. Sometimes I think it's my Chinese knockoff Wi-Fi thing that's screwing up. It's
It,
just, it's a variable rate of streaming.
it's likely.
Yeah, so, like,
And you know, if I'm being honest, Wi-Fi is not the most stable form of internet already.
yeah, so,
Especially if you're kind of
notice my
fighting.
signal is fluctuating.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
And I'm next to a router, so even if
yeah,
yeah, if it happens, I'll just shoot you another link or whatever.
alright.
And then if the power does go out, just let me know. That's good.
Yeah, alright. Keep in mind that you are an actor in a play that is just the way the producer wants it to be. It is short, if that is his wish, or long if he wants it long. If he wants you to act the part of a beggar, see that you play it skillfully. And similarly, if the part is to be a cripple, or an official, or a private person, your job is to put on a splendid performance of the role you have been given, but selecting the role is the job of someone else.
That's a difficult one.
Yeah, it's one of those fate things.
Do you have anything you want to say about that one?
It's kind of like dealing with the hand you're dealt in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that often happens when people read this is that they tend to feel like Stoicism is um, passively fatalistic.
Yeah.
And here's where a lot of, because I know real, like, um, what's that? Like hard determinists.
Yeah.
My personal, I'm basically a compatibilist, right?
Hmm.
So I think that there are certain things you can't change about your life. You can't change the fact that you're going to die. You can't change the body that you're given. Like, you
Yeah.
can improve its condition,
Yeah.
but like, I can't cure my CP.
Hmm.
If you have a genetic predisposition to cancer, you can't remove the increased risk that gives you for
Yeah.
developing cancer, right? These are the kinds of things that they're talking about. And maybe in Greece, Rome, they were also taking into account um, because it was a very stratified society, right?
Right.
And so you really couldn't improve your station in life too much.
Hmm.
You kind of just it's kind of like the caste system in a way. But even though we don't have that, like we have to understand that there are certain elements of our lives um, that are not subject to our ability to change them,
Right.
like my CP, like the family you're born into, like your genetic predispositions, and that sort of thing.
Yep.
Um, Whenever a raven croaks ominously, don't let the impression carry you away, but straightway discriminate within yourself and say, none of this is a warning for me. It only concerns my feeble body or my tiny estate or my paltry reputation or my children or my wife. But to myself, all predictions are favorable if I wish them to be, since it is up to me to benefit from the outcome, whatever it may be. Now, the way that I tend to interpret this, again, a lot of people who just once over this, right, think that he's basically saying, don't give a shit about your wife, your son, whatever. He's not saying that. So, in general, the Stoic position is that you should do what you can,
Yeah.
and that is what you can control.
Yeah.
Whether or not you do everything that you can to reach a favorable outcome while simultaneously knowing that the outcome of the situation is not in your control.
Yeah.
Just
Basically.
what you put into it is.
Hmm.
Um, and like he said in the discourses that we mentioned earlier, that's part of what he means when he says, what was that? Hold on, ADD. Um, know your price. That's
Yeah.
the other facet of that. Is like know what you're willing to put into a situation, and like just be aware that you do have that about you. The other thing is that sometimes like people misconstrue this as being toxic positivity, right?
Hmm.
But like I've come to believe this through my own experience that every situation that you're in um, has something to teach you. Even the worst situations, right? Like um, I've had friends be suicidal for most of their lives. I've had people die on me. Um, I've had abuse happen and all these sorts of things, and like even though it hurts to go through them, um, it made me more capable of reading a situation and knowing what potential factors for danger lie in certain repeating types of situations.
Yeah.
Um, so when he says it is up to me to benefit from the outcome, whatever it may be, that's what I think of. Like I just, even in the worst situations, I try to find the lesson in it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's difficult to find, and sometimes it takes years to come out of a bad situation and find even a little bit of wisdom, but I tend to think that it exists.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add?
No, I'd say that was pretty good.
Cool. Um,
Uh,
19.
You can always win if you only enter competitions where winning is up to you. When you see someone honored ahead of you, or holding great power, or being highly esteemed in another way, be careful never to be carried away by the impression and judge the person to be happy. For if the essence of goodness consists in things that are up to us, there is room for neither envy nor jealousy, and you yourself will not want to be a praetor or a senator or a consul, but to be free. The only way to achieve this is by despising the things that are not of us.
What do you think about that?
I just think of it as not wishing those things that seem impressive or, desirable, like becoming a senator or getting rich or something like that. Because we kind of judge those things like, oh, that person's well off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like there might be other reasons how they got that position, or maybe they're just kind of miserable inside, even though they look well off outwardly.
Yeah.
Or, they were probably, like, maybe there was a little bit of nepotism, like someone in their family, like, got them that job, and there might be a whole host of emotional shit behind that.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of reasons. So, like, it's like, don't desire those things that are really not up to you. I mean, it's not saying, like, oh, don't become a senator or anything, but, like, it's more like, why are you doing this?
I tend to think, too, that maybe there's an element, because the reason the translator, because similarly, like, usually in this passage, there's a word similar to despise the things that are not up to you, right? And it's a strong word, and I think, like, maybe, I don't speak whatever form of Greek Epictetus spoke, but, like, that's been pretty consistent in the translated versions. Yeah. And I think maybe that type of word is used because Epictetus understands to what degree people tend to overvalue those types of things.
Right.
So to counteract that, you have to use, in his mind, you have to use an equally strong sentiment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, like, if you really, like, think about somebody who's, like, perpetually horny and they eminently desire sex and, like, maybe they haven't had it and, like, it's just on the brain.
Yeah.
They tend to, like, overvalue how it's going to change their life.
Yeah.
And, like, they tend not to see anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, I gotta click on that. Keep in mind that what injures you is not people who are rude or aggressive, but your opinion that they're injuring you. So whenever someone provokes you, be aware of that provocation really comes down to your own judgment. Start then by trying not to get carried away by the impression. Once you pause and give yourself time, you will more easily control yourself. That's pretty self-explanatory. I really have nothing to say about that.
Yeah.
This next one that you're about to read is something I try to do every day.
Yep. When you want to stop?
I don't know. When do you want to stop?
I don't know. I was thinking like after 23.
All right.
Set before your eyes every day death and exile and everything else that looks terrible, especially death. Then you will never have any mean thought or be too keen on anything.
There's certain facets of this I still got to work on.
Yeah, me too.
I think it might have been Tim LeBon. I don't remember where I heard this. But
Mhm.
one variation of this exercise, to get around the notion that certain people that you're close to annoy you and then you end up getting angry.
Yeah,
Um, he suggested taking a minute and imagining um, how you would feel if they were dead.
yeah,
And then usually that takes the sting out of the irritation you feel toward them. It doesn't work if you already don't like the person, though. Just because I've tried that with certain people I don't like, and it's not good for that situation. But it's good for like family that you generally like would say that you love, but then they irritate you,
yeah,
right?
mm,
The or like close friends that you're a little too close to, and you tend to argue sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah. If you are keen on philosophy, be ready at the outset to be laughed at and mocked by many people with words like, "What do you know? He's come back as a philosopher." Um, um, hold on. Where did he get that superior look from? Don't look that way, but stick to your views of what is best, as one who has been appointed to this place by God or Zeus, by the way. And keep in mind that if you stick to these same views, the people who used to laugh at you will admire you later. If you lapse from that, you will be a laughing stock for a second time. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm. So, like, my paraphrase of this type of sentiment from Stoicism is do your best to live in such a way so as never to have to say you're sorry.
yeah,
And like people have said that they think that means I'm advocating do whatever you want.
mm-hmm.
I'm not.
No,
I'm advocating having a personal sense of integrity and don't violate that. To the best of your ability,
yeah,
um, have a clear idea of the person that you want to be.
mm-hmm.
Be that. Like Marcus Aurelius said, stop wasting time talking about what a good man should be and be one. It
Yeah,
doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but it just means understand your own personal ethos
yeah,
and live that to the fullest extent possible. And when you violate that for yourself, understand why you violated it and try again.
mm-hmm.
Like just because you have difficulty with it doesn't mean it's not worth doing.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to that?
No, I'd say that's pretty much what I was gonna say.
Hey man,
What?
it's your turn to react.
If you ever find yourself looking for outside approval in order to curry favor, you can be sure that you have lost your way. Be satisfied then simply to be a philosopher, and if you want people to think of you that way as well, appear so to yourself, and that will be sufficient.
Anything you want to say about that one?
That one is pretty much being consistent with what you desire to be. I mean, yeah, Stoicism is a lot about giving yourself backbone to do the things that you feel are right to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
And
if you're tossed and turned by things you want, even if you seem to be satisfied or whatever, there's always going to be something new to catch your attention and, make you not able to keep your word or something like that.
exactly, dude.
Yeah.
I thought about like reading the long one real quick, but I don't know because it is pretty long. I just thought about capping it off with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, let me. You know what? How short is the one after that? They're getting a little longer, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, we'll just leave this one for next time, I think.
All right.
Um, any closing remarks or anything like that?
Just
Story time?
what?
Story time or anything?
Story time.
Yeah, like anything we read today that reminded you of something that happened in life.
Trying to think. Well, I never got to finish my GPU rant.
Oh yeah, let's go back to that. GPUs.
Yeah, in reference to like even if you don't take things that are put before you but pass them by,
Yeah.
share the rule of the gods and shit.
Yeah.
It's like I don't need a new GPU, or I don't need an upgrade. I just I'm satisfied with what I got because
Yeah.
it works and it works sufficiently, satisfactorily. I mean,
Yeah.
could I? Yeah, I could, but like I hardly feel the desire to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that can apply to things like food and all that, like not eating so much of what the community hasn't touched yet.
I think that if we lived that way, our world would have a lot less issues.
Yeah.
Because if you guys only knew how much food we threw away every day,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason restaurants won't donate any of the food is because of legal liability.
Yeah.
So they throw it away. In some cases, they douse it with pneumonia so people can't eat it. It's
Yeah.
actually poison at that point.
Yep.
Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
We poison trash, so homeless people won't eat the food because they're afraid of getting sued.
Right.
Tell me how that's the solution. I don't know.
Yeah, there's some really questionable things.
Yeah. Seriously. It's funny, right? Because I probably could get a better computer than this. But I don't know. I like this computer.
Yeah.
It does everything I need to do. It's a little weird. It's kind of quirky, if I'm being honest.
Yep.
Like, I still can't fix the hard drive activity issue this thing has. But it doesn't really affect performance.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of leave it that way. I mean, maybe I should replace the hard drive at some point, but all the tools I ran on it says like it's pretty close to, like it's still in good working order.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, Christianity borrowed from Stoicism that notion of being content with what you have.
Yeah.
And also understanding that like if you're earnest about what you do, things tend to be like you tend to get what you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's when we start like neglecting ourselves, neglecting our bodies, neglecting our family, like neglecting social obligations and things like that. As far as our social roles are concerned, that in the Stoic view, things tend to go a little haywire.
Yeah.
I don't know that Stoicism has a lot to say about being in romantic relationships necessarily, because we've mentioned this before, but like 95% of Stoic literature was like lost to time.
Yeah.
And like what we're reading to you isn't even complete.
Mm-hmm.
But I would think that being people just like we are, they had thoughts about how people should engage in like marriages and things like that.
Right.
What does that mean? I don't know. But it would be interesting to talk about maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For me, I tend to think like Stoics would advocate being as level-headed as possible, not like doing your best not to bring up like things that you claim to have already forgiven someone for in an argument. Trying to see, like Epictetus advocates like apostrophizing when somebody does something you perceive as bad to you,
Yeah.
or something stupid. He advocates saying something like apostrophizing your thoughts in the way of saying, "Oh, it seems right to him." I thought about that for a little bit, and for the most part, the conclusion that I came to is maybe he's advocating like something a little deeper along with that. Maybe that's the abbreviated version, right?
Right.
But what if he like is advocating something like imagining what circumstances you would have to be in to act that way and think that that was okay?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like really exercising a form of cognitive empathy. And I think that it helps with emotional modulation and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add, dude?
No, I think that's it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You ain't got nothing else? Mexican style?
Unless you got
Mexican?
something.
Huh?
Unless you got something.
No, I asked you because, I've been talking more this time.
Yeah.
You got some, boy?
I don't know. I was talking to one of my coworkers today about marriage and stuff. Like, she's been married to her husband for a year, but they've been in a relationship for like 9 years. It was just at that point they were like, you know what, you might as well.
Yeah.
Which that makes a lot of sense because I've seen so many marriages break up because both partners didn't really understand each other or nor trust each other, if that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, and in that case, like marriage is, yeah, don't even think about it.
I mean, I was never married, but I was engaged.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So, like, I don't know, like, marriage is something that is a very complex subject that I think people should honestly think more about, like consider more.
Personal opinion, right here.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't, like, to me, you shouldn't even consider marriage unless you've been together for a minimum of 5 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And known each other preferably for longer than the 5 years that you've been dating.
Mm-hmm.
Significantly longer.
Yeah.
At least 2 additional years. At least.
Yep.
Because what I've found is that in our, particularly in like westernized societies,
yeah,
there's this notion that, and I guess this ties to Stoicism because it generally ties to the Greek philosophical notion that reason is the thing we share with divinity, right?
Yeah.
Or at the very least, reason is super important.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like there's this notion in our culture that like if you're friends you can't date. Like you shouldn't because you're just gonna ruin the friendship.
Yeah.
And that like there are different kinds of love. I also disagree with that vehemently. Like and people have argued their position and I still fundamentally disagree. And I have reasons. And all of them are tied together, all these things that I'm mentioning. But when it comes to like looking for a life partnership with somebody, Um, like that's the reason a lot of my relationships have dissolved is because, after we're together for like 2 years, people expect marriage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, quite frankly, I don't know you well enough to marry you.
Mm-hmm.
And they think that that's mean, but it's this cultural perception that like, A, you shouldn't be friends first, and B, there's a certain expectation that after a certain amount of time passes, like you're just gonna auto take your relationship to the next level. And I think that's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
For me, friendship is the root of love.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a strong foundational friendship with a potential partner,
Right.
your partnership is probably going to flop. What I notice happens with people that do succeed, they're together for a couple years, they get married, they argue, and then they become friends.
Yeah.
Some couples, when they go that route, they can't hack the work that it takes to actually like learn and appreciate someone who you find out is completely different from you and what you thought. So you have two things. They're different from you.
Yep.
And they're different from what your expectations were.
Yeah.
Right? The solution to that is really get to know the person first.
Yep.
Regardless of what our culture says, take your time.
Mm-hmm.
You may not have all the time in the world, but you do have the time that you have.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I'm not perfect at all, but I'd suggest using that time very wisely.
Yeah.
And get to know who you're sleeping with. Get to know who you want to live with. Get to know who you want to make a life partner.
Yeah.
And it's very old world Catholic of me, I guess. Because as contemporary as a lot of my views are,
yeah,
I think we undervalue the quality of the relationships we build.
Yeah.
Like we tend to think that like friendship is simultaneously more important but less significant than a romantic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And those two things are in contradiction with each other.
Yeah.
And if you think that friendship is different, your relationship will probably, like your romantic relationships will fail.
Yeah.
And like, to be honest with you, not a lot of people agree with me, which is why I'm single. And like, most days I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because of that. Like, I'd rather be with somebody who's like going to make the effort to understand why I am coming at it from that angle and be willing to meet me there.
Mm-hmm.
Than to like play games, make a hot connection, get married, and like build a dumpster fire out of the rest of my life. I'm not really into that prospect.
Yep. That's a waste of money, time, and your health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just my take on how Stoicism influenced, Greek philosophy in general.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I wanted to say. This is my definition of love, right? So Plato had this thing where he thought like Eros was the key to like ultimate love. And for Plato, he thought ultimate love was the love of wisdom.
Yeah.
Right? So I kind of took that and I started to realize something. Like when you first make a romantic connection with somebody else and it develops into love,
mm-hmm.
That's our first taste of what it's like. Right?
Right.
And from that, like, he noted that, like, friendship was a kind of love that can develop out, because he kind of thought of Eros as not just, like, wanting to have sex.
Yeah.
But, like, attraction to somebody, like an intense attraction.
Right.
Right? And so he said from that can develop friendship, and then that could develop into romantic love, and then that could develop into a love of wisdom, or a love of humanity in general, and then a love of wisdom, which was the ultimate. And for me, the way that informed the way that I look at things is that there aren't different kinds of love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Love is the same thing. We just put different boundaries on it depending on our relationship to that person.
Yeah.
But if you, like, because I've heard and seen firsthand, like, mothers literally fall in love with their newborn child.
You're right.
Children.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw that, and like when I was there for when my siblings were born, I felt like this overwhelming need to like make their life better than mine.
Yeah.
And from that I learned what love was, and like the way that I would describe it is love isn't really an emotion. It's kind of like a metaphorical place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's where like all well-intentioned action stems from. And if you don't understand that, like you can't understand why certain people are so dedicated to certain causes, or why someone is so dedicated to a partner.
Yeah.
Or why partners would be that dedicated to each other, because like there's something in you that hasn't experienced it. And like I would like to, do the in vogue thing and say, well, everyone's experience is different, but like that's the thing. When you feel actual love for another human being, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not different.
Mm-hmm.
Attraction is different. Like lust is different.
Yeah.
Desire is one thing. But love, when you really experience it, it's when you're talking about quote unquote different forms of love.
Right.
There really is not a difference when you come to that kind of understanding. Yeah, so that's just, I guess Greek philosophy on love and friendship and romance and crap.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything you want to add to that?
No.
All right, dudes. I will not be doing my disability AMA on Tuesday because scheduling conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be back here on Wednesday. Thursday. I think I should be doing other things on Wednesday. So I'll see you guys Thursday rather than Tuesday because scheduling conflicts. We'll be talking about disability.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get you on that stream to talk about love on the spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
how it relates to your experiences, and like just to talk about your experience of autism in general, because everybody's experience is different.
Yeah.
Like everybody has a similar cluster of what you'd call symptoms,
Mm-hmm.
but like, their personal experience of it can be different.
Yeah.
Like it's like having the same stuff but configured in different ways.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So see you guys. What day did I say? Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
All right. Bye, dudes.
All right.